Hello and welcome to the 30-day Whole Food Clean Eating Challenge. This is our presentation on whole grains and beans, an easy and affordable staple of a clean diet. I'm Angela Sidness, Integrative Nutrition Health Coach at wildcraftedway.com. You are in the right place if you want to eat food from as close to the source as possible to get the maximum benefit from the food. I thought I was eating healthy. I was eating whole wheat bread and whole grain cereal. Turns out those foods aren't as healthy as the marketing would lead you to believe. After years of eating whole grain breads and processed cereals, I stopped eating them most of the time, and my life changed. Clean is minimally processed foods, and we are not statically on the spectrum from clean to the other end. We are at a different place with every food that we eat. I learned how to identify where I'm at and identify where I can take steps in the other direction, one at a time. My intention is to transform how you look at whole grains and beans so you can get the maximum nutritional benefit with great taste while saving money. Remember, what happens in the 30 days stays in the 30-day. Everyone benefits when one person asks a question or shares an insight. In this class, we will learn about whole grains and beans, the benefits, how to properly store, prepare, and cook these staples of a healthy, clean diet. But before we do that, I'd like everyone to stand up. Great. All right, we're gonna shake the tree again. You know how this goes? Take a couple deep breaths in and hold at the top and exhale through your mouth, letting all of the air go. And breathe in and hold and exhale. And breathe in and exhale. Go ahead and put your arms up, your legs about shoulder width apart. And just go ahead and shake out your body. If it's not comfortable for you to put your arms up, that's okay. You can put them down by your side. Just start shaking out your body. Shake out everything that you have to do today, this week, or something that already happened. Let's just take this moment to be present in our body and just shake it out. Great. Shake, shake, shake. All right. Arms overhead. Inhale. And exhale, hands to heart center. Bowing your head. Honoring your body, what it needs, what it wants, what it's telling you. All right, thank you. I would like you to listen and take part fully. Making whole grains and beans can save you money and add valuable nutrients to your diet. Commit to trying a new grain or bean. Share how it went with recommendations from last week. I want to hear how eating more greens is going for you, what's going on with your cravings, and what new things you've implemented. For thousands of years, grains and beans have been healthfully eaten by much of the world's population. When it comes to grains, to derive the optimal nutritional benefit, always go for the whole. Some processing does help us get the maximum benefit from the foods we eat. For instance, you can't pick an oat from the field and eat it. We husk it, cut it, roll it, sprout it. In theory, this would reduce nutrients of the food, but slight processing allows us to access it in the first place. Okay? The difference between the whole grains our ancestors ate and the refined grains we eat today is vast. Many of the refined grains have lost most of their vital elements during the milling process and are nutritionally deficient. That is why most breads and cereals products are fortified with vitamins and minerals. Whole grains and beans have been a central element of the human diet since early civilization. Humans ceased being hunter gatherers and settled down into farming communities when they were able to cultivate crops. People living in these communities on all continents had long, lean, strong bodies. In the Americas, corn, quinoa, and amaranth were the staple grains. In India and Asia, it was rice. In Africa, people ate sorghum and teff. In the Middle East, they used wheat, making pita bread, tabbouleh, and couscous. In Europe, corn, millet, wheat, rice, pasta, dark breads, and even beer were considered health-providing foods. In Scotland, oats were a staple food. In Russia, they ate buckwheat or kasha. Very few people were overweight. Whole grains are an excellent source of nutrition. They contain essential enzymes, iron, dietary fiber, vitamin E, and B complex vitamins. Because the body absorbs grains slowly, they provide sustained and high quality energy that won't send your blood sugar levels spiking and plummeting. This is an example of what it looks like to sprout your grains. Many people now steer clear of grains because of gluten intolerance, and with the most recent statistics pointing to as many as 1 in 3 Americans suffering from this, whether or not they know it. It makes sense to become familiar with some of the more nutritious and delicious gluten-free grains at your disposal. Whole grains stay fresher longer when stored in airtight glass containers in your refrigerator or freezer. Because they keep well once cooked, it's a great idea to make a big batch of your favorite grain and enjoy it at several meals. Last night's quinoa can be turned into a delicious porridge the following morning by reheating it with a little almond milk, frozen blueberries, and cinnamon. This is an ideal breakfast alternative to any puffed grain cereal, as the puffing is done at high heat that destroys nutrients and makes the oil in the grain go rancid. The quickest way to create great grains is to experiment and find what works for you. Remember, 1 cup of dry grain yields enough for 2 to 4 people. All grains contain naturally occurring phytic acid in the outer layer, although brown rice contains a relatively high level. Phytic acid can block absorption of key minerals in the body and can lead to digestive disorders. Therefore, you'll want to soak your grains for 8 hours in warm water to neutralize the phytic acid and enhance digestibility. If you don't have the time for that much soaking, even an hour is beneficial. Here is a list of 7 superpower gluten-free grains to try. Brown rice, buckwheat is AKA kasha, which has no relation to gluten at all or wheat. Oats, looking for whole groats, oatmeal, rolled oats, amaranth, millet, quinoa, and wild rice, my favorite local grain. Now remember, this is available to you on the members page as a download just to the left side of this video. So you can go ahead and click and you'll be able to get this. All liquid measures and times are approximate, so cooking length depends on how strong the heat is. So here's the basic directions for cooking grains. First, you want to rinse your grains using a mesh strainer. Here's an example. I'll do exactly this, either under the sink, usually under the sink. You put your strainer in the bowl and soak. What I'll do is I'll rinse them until the water runs relatively clear, and then I'll soak them from anywhere from 1 to 24 hours. A lot of times I'll just leave like brown rice over on the counter overnight. Then what you want to do is you want to measure out your broth or your water and add it to a pan with a tight-fitting lid. I love cooking whole grains with homemade bone broth or a homemade veggie broth. It just really enhances the flavor and tastes delicious. And then you get some of the benefits from the vegetable broth and or bone broth. Always bring your broth or water to boil before adding the grains, knowing that if you add the grains and the water at the same time, you'll have more of a porridge consistency. So you want to add your rinsed and soaked grains. You want to rinse the water off, drain the water off your grains, bring the water to boil, reduce heat, and turn it to low and cover. Set your timer to desired cook time. So when I say reduce heat to low and cover, I mean it. Cover your grains, keep the lid on. What you could do is set the timer for 5 minutes before the end time just to check and make sure you're doing okay, but definitely keep the cover on and don't be stirring throughout the cooking process. No, if you're new at cooking grains, it's a good idea to lift the lid and check the water level, like I said, about 5 minutes through cooking and towards the end, making sure there is still enough water not to scorch the grains, but don't stir. Taste the grains to see if they're fully cooked or starting to burn. Cooked grains keep very well. Busy people can prepare larger quantities of grains and simply reheat with a little oil or water later in the week. You can add it to soups or stir fries. Roasting grains makes them more alkaline. And adds a nice nutty flavor. The texture of grains can be changed by boiling the water before adding the grains. This will keep the grains separated and prevent a mushy consistency. Do not add kasha to cold water as it will not cook properly. For a softer, more porridge-like consistency, boil the grain and the liquid together. In the nutrition world, how much and what types of protein one should consume is highly debated. Some say that high-quality animal meat is needed for optimal health, while others advocate for a plant-based diet. Experiment with what works for your body at this time in your life. This way, you'll be able to successfully guide yourself to your appropriate protein source. Whole foods like grains and beans release their sugar very, very slowly because of the fiber in them, and they don't give you a sugar rush. They feed your cells as needed, and as a result, you have loads of stable energy that powers you through the day. Beans are a wonderful way to add high-quality plant-based protein to your diet. They are high in iron, B vitamins, and fiber, and are versatile enough that you may never tire of them. Dry beans stay fresh longer when stored in a cool, dark place rather than on your countertop. Don't use beans that are more than a year old, as their nutrient content and digestibility are much lower. Also, old beans will not soften even with thorough cooking. So, prepping beans. You want to check your beans for rocks and chiseled or broken beans and then rinse. Same thing, you can use a strainer, put your beans in there and soak them. Because it is a natural product, sometimes there are some rocks or shriveled beans in them. You want to soak your beans for at least 6 hours or overnight with water covering about 4 inches higher than the beans. I'll just use a clear glass bowl and put it on my counter. If you're going to soak the beans for longer, you want to make sure to rinse the soaking water 1 to 2 times a day. Remember, small and medium-sized beans may require less soaking. Drain and rinse the beans, discarding the soaking water. Always discard any loose skins before cooking, as this will increase digestibility. If you've forgotten to pre-soak the beans, you can bring them to a boil in ample water to cover, turn off the heat, cover the pot, and let it stand for 1 hour. So you want to place your beans in a heavy pot and add 3 to 4 cups of fresh water. Bring it to a full boil, your pot, and then skim off any foam that comes up. Okay? Then you can turn down the heat to medium. Add a piece of kombu, which is a type of seaweed, and a few bay leaves or garlic cloves for flavor and better digestibility. Adding the kombu adds some really valuable minerals and is actually pretty tasty at the end of cooking. So cover and lower the temperature and simmer for the suggested time. You might want to loosely keep the lid on there. Check the beans 30 minutes before the minimum cooking time. Beans are done when the middle is soft and easy to squeeze. About 10 minutes before the end of cooking time, you can add a teaspoon of unrefined sea salt, Himalayan salt, real salt. Never add salt to the water before the beans are finished being cooked, otherwise they will never get tender. Here is the whole grains and beans cooking chart, and again, you'll have access to this on your members only page just to the left. All times are approximate. Cooking lengths depend on how strong the heat is and how hard the water is. One of my favorite ways of cooking beans these days is in the crock pot. Just set the beans, some garlic, a bay leaf, and then the kombu, put it in the crock pot on low overnight, and fabulous. The general rule is that small beans cook for approximately 30 minutes, medium beans cook for approximately 60 minutes, and large beans cook for approximately 90 minutes. And you don't need to soak lentils overnight or at all. Be sure to taste the beans to see if they are fully cooked and tender. Some people have difficulty digesting beans and legumes. They may develop gas, intestinal problems, irritability, or unclear thinking. So here are a few techniques for prepping and eating legumes that will alleviate most problems. Soak beans for several days, changing the water twice daily until a small tail forms on the beans. Use a pressure cooker. This also cuts down on cooking time. Chew beans thoroughly and know that even small amounts have high nutritional and healing value. Avoid giving legumes to children under 18 months because they have not developed the gastric enzymes to digest them properly. Experiment with your ability to digest beans. Smaller beans like adzuki, lentils, mung beans, and peas digest most easily. Pinto beans, kidney beans, navy beans, black-eyed peas, and garbanzo, lima, and black beans are the hardest to digest. Soybeans and black soybeans are the most difficult. They're the largest bean. Experiment with combination ingredients and seasonings. Legumes combine best with green or non-starchy vegetables and seaweeds. Back to the food combining. Season with unrefined sea salt, miso, or soy sauce near the end of cooking. If salt is added at the beginning, the beans will not cook completely. Salt is a digestive aid when used correctly. Adding fennel or cumin near the end of cooking helps prevent gas. Adding kombu or kelp seaweed to the beans helps improve flavor and digestion, adds minerals and nutrients, and speeds up the cooking process. Add a little apple cider vinegar or brown rice or white wine vinegar to the water in the last stages of cooking. This softens the beans and breaks down protein chains and indigestible compounds. Take enzymes with your meal. Digestive enzymes are vital to vibrant health. So today we learned the benefits, how to properly store, prepare, and cook whole grains and beans to gain the most nutritional benefit. Traditional Chinese medicine focuses on using food to prevent and treat disease instead of describing foods by how much protein, fat, or calories they contain. In traditional Chinese medicine, they focus on the quality of the food. All foods have a distinct energy and characteristic properties that either make us healthy, balancing and nourishing our bodies, or create imbalances that result in sickness. This is food energetics. Knowledge of food energetics can help one build a stronger sense of health and well-being by eating different foods that impose different effects, like saying, you are what you eat. So here's some example of food energetics. So beans and give you the grounded, relaxed quality. Whole grains, brown rice, more connected and harmonious. Okay? If you want to feel light and creative and flexible, go for quinoa, raw foods. A lot of times when you have sugar and caffeine and alcohol, you feel tense or anxious, or when you have eat factory farm foods. One amazing woman that I was able to meet, Native American woman, was speaking of her elder, and her elder was talking about wild plants and animals for food. She said, eat as many wild plants and animals as you can, so you stay wild. If you eat the plants and animals that are factory farmed or grown in rows, you will become boxed in like those animals and plants. So let's think a little bit about how you connect. This is your journaling exercise and what to share on our Facebook page. How do you connect with yourself? What are some of the techniques that you do this? Do you take time daily to connect with yourself? How do you connect to something greater than yourself? Is this like through church or temple, nature, hikes, meditation? How do you connect to that greater something? And start to notice what foods calm and soothe you, and what you're doing when you eat, and how food affects your mood. I can't wait to hear how this goes for you. I want you to stand up, reach up, and take a few deep breaths. All right. Okay, you can go ahead and sit down. This action steps for this week: try a new whole grain, make beans at home, notice how protein affects your cravings, and let's revisit your goals from way back in our very first lesson. Have you been meeting them, and what new goals are you making? Please feel free to share any questions on our Facebook page, join our live Q&A call, or send me an email with any specific questions you have. All right, thank you so much. I can't wish you great success in this program, and I can't wait to hear from you.